Okay, so you will hear meowing. I'm by my door. Um, these cats can get under my door. They just choose, they want to, for me to open my door. And right now, I kinda can't. Because I'm literally sitting in front of my door. Anyways, this is Tea in a Bar by Tia Blackcharm. Chapter 20. Check out the evidence. Summary. Security footage. Oh, I'm back here. Izuku thought when he found that he was in the misty place instead of having a nightmare. There was no phantom pain or echoes of cruel insults. There was no dripping red or flashes accompanied by heat. Instead, there was silence, or maybe the sound of wind, but that was very faint. Things were soft and muted. It wasn't too cold or it wasn't too hot or too cold. Overall, it was nice in an odd sort of way. And there was Izuku, this time sitting on the ground, a measure a majority of his body still not solid, and instead of made up of smoke that seemed to um swirl and sway. Izuku looked around and and he saw the lights, the 8 figures that he was near. They all they looked more defined than last time, clearer too. The thought that they the thought that they were people was supported by their shape and figures. The woman he had saw last time he was still the woman he saw last time was still the clearest. The other's image was a bit fuzzy and unstable. A moment he could make out a certain figure, but the next to the image became warped and fuzzy. Izuku Izuku hoped that soon imagined their image would become more stable. He wondered what they looked like. It was a it was a few moments it was a few moments that he was sitting there watching the lights until the woman turned around and saw him. When she came towards him, the other figures seemed to fall. Mm, let me return. When she came towards him, some of the other figures followed. "You're back," she said in disbelief. "I was worried I wouldn't I wouldn't see you again." He tilted his head in confusion. He was still not he still didn't really understand where he was or who they were. A chuckle came from one of the other figures. One of the larger ones that was red. If Izuku squinted hard enough, he could tell that the man was wearing goggles on his head. Huh. Kid's back? I was sure we'd only see him. Hold on. Stop clawing my mattress. Huh. Kid's back? I was sure we'd only see him again after something bad happened. Gotta say, this kid has the worst luck in we all already we are all we all are already well aware of Knight's luck. Another figure, this one a blue light, said. Well, my well maybe it's getting better. He's safe now, a gray figure responded. The a purple figure stepped forward and seemed to gesture with their hands at him. He's with the League, he said. They said bluntly. The gray figure didn't seem at all perturbed at the statement. Izuku was sure that if he was able to see their face, that it would be one of someone who with a "so what" expression. When the gray figure spoke, he was sure they had that look on their face. I meant I meant what I said. Never mind how odd it is. The truth it's the truth compared to before when he was at school with 8. I swear if that man does so does so Izuku had to admit he never expected a bunch of different colored staticky figures to de- debate over him in an unusual misty place where he could not speak. It was an odd situation that he hoped he would be he hoped is able to figure out. But for the meantime, he was fine with listening to the strange figures. He was seeing he was seeing so as he slept described the various ways they would injure the eighth. Off to the side, one of the figures seemed to shrink at each threat. Sushi, stop it. Izuku woke up. He found himself smiling at um how he didn't see any notifications of missed calls or text messages from his mom. He felt grateful that Dobby had taken the situation into his own hands. It felt good for somewhat cutting her off, and it was nice for someone to acknowledge that Inka was a shitty parent. Izuku had heard about how his mother was so sweet to still take care of him after his diagnosis. People kept throwing at him. People kept throwing at him, even though even though when he got home, she practically ignored him or made him feel trapped in his own house. But Dobby had so easily discarded her call and told him that cutting off shitty parents was the best thing to do. It sounded like Dobby had spoke from experience, and Izuku thought about Todoroki. Izuku may Izuku may be depressed, but he wasn't stupid, and he could note down the obvious similarities and possible connections between them. But was he gonna do anything about it? No, it wasn't his. It wasn't really his place. But he kept it in mind. He went and looked at the other messages. There was a lot from his class group chat. A couple from a came from a few of his classmates separately. Actually, all of his other classmates sent messages to him separately, and that's when he realized that he missed the departure for the summer training camp. Shit. There was a lot of question there was a lot of questions why hadn't he shown up. Ida in particular had messaged various messages that progressed of telling him that he was going to be late, and the last one letting him know that they left and were were worried why he never showed up. Izuku had Izuku I am starting at the wrong part. Guilt settled on Izuku like a heavy blanket. He hadn't missed he hadn't meant to miss leaving for the trip, but he couldn't find himself especially disappointed about it. Going for a week of training then with his Going for a week of training with this quirk that resulted in him having enough broken bones and pain sounded very exciting. Of course, The prospect of improving was, but after the week he had, he didn't feel like he would have enough energy or mental capacity to deal with it. With the pressure that have surely came from All Might would have been crushing. The thought of it made the thought of it alone made him feel like made the thought of it alone made it feel a bit harder to breathe. Maybe that's why he had sort of forgotten about it. And and now reading those messages didn't feel like any particular rush to leave the bar. The part of him the part of him feeling guilt feels the part of him made him feel hold on. The part the part that made him feel guilty was making the others worried. But he didn't know how to respond to the message, especially now that he missed an important school activity. Oh no, what about Izawa sensei? He had slipped away from his teacher on Monday without saying a word and never went back to school. Unlike his past teachers, Izawa sensei cared. Izuku doubted that his teacher was not aware that he had gone he, that he that he had been gone for the past few days. He had a, he wondered how long it would take for the man and the other heroes to figure out that he was with the League. How long until he had to leave? How long until he had to go back? The last few days have been great. It was such a change after the week he had. No battle simulations, no pressure coming from his mentor, no disappointed looks from Recovery Girl, no red eyes glaring at him. Instead, there were red eyes looking at him in curiosity and confusion from Shigaraki. Also, no classes or training. Izuku was able just to take a break. He was able to sit quietly and listen to the others talk. He found the various discussions they had interesting and the bickering amusing. He knew that he hadn't said much, but they still included him in conversations at times. And when he got lost in his own thoughts, he found them able to bring him back. It reminded him it reminded him how Dark Shadow and Shoji had kept him grounded in silent support. Like with them, he found himself slowly feeling just a bit better, willing to talk if someone had asked him a simple question, like o- Ojiro or Momo during the study sessions they had. They didn't push him to talk more when he's finished. And if he left, who's to say that he would be able to do that again? If All Might decided to punish him for the match on Monday, what would Inko do? Hey Midoriya, Spinner called out, interrupting Izuku's thought. He snapped up quickly and looked at Spinner. Yeah, yeah, he said, with an expression on his face that didn't hide how he was not having the best thoughts at the moment. Spinner looked at him for a moment without saying anything before speaking. How did you h- how's the burn on your shoulder? Spinner asked with the sound of with a with Spinner said with what sounded like genuine concern. Oh, it's fine, I guess. Nothing too bad. What about your ribs? Izuku? At this, Izuku's eyes widened a bit. You knew about that? He said with a bit what he said, looking a bit sheepish. Spinner nodded. Yeah, they're bruised, aren't they? Izuku nodded. They were cracked before, but they could they couldn't be healed all the way, so they're bruised. Mm. Spinner hummed. Make sure to keep taking the pain meds. I know bruised ribs can suck. And don't let Toga hug you too tight again. While Toga glared at Spinner, while Toga glared at Spinner, Izuku nodded. I'll keep that in mind, Spinner. Thanks. No problem. No probs, little dude. For a moment, Izuku's turmoil, turmoil, turmoil of thoughts calmed down again. That's how you say it. Since arriving at training camp, there was no shortage of questions about Midoriya from Shota's class. Each of them was concerned why Midoriya was not with them. They asked if Midoriya had told him in advance about him not coming, if he was okay. So it was clear to Shota that his students did not know that Midoriya had technically been missing since Monday. When he told them, he was disappointed to see that any idea had none of them really had an idea as to where Midoriya might have gone. Despite the news of their missing classmate, his students kept doing well on training. If any, if anything, the news of Midoriya's disappearance pushed them. He was not surprised that his students seemed. It was not a surprise to see his students with a certain look in their eye. It was sad to see that the the excitement that his class had died down. Instead, it was replaced with worried and concern, um, irritation when one of the one irritate irritation when one of the students from Class 1B made it a mission to point out one of their classmates wasn't there. However, they had quickly apologized once made aware of the situation. There was a tense atmosphere surrounding 1A, especially the homeroom teacher of said class. He looked even more intimidating, making it harder for the others to approach him. It seemed to make the students a bit unsettled when they found him glaring at something in the distance. None of none of his students um, hadn't even bothered coming up to ask him a question before they turned around and steered clear. Eventually, the Wawa Pussycats took notice and sent one of their members to see what was the reason why so many students seemed unsettled. Ragdoll was the one who approached the underground hero. Her appearance completely contradicts Eraserhead's dark apparel. What's wrong, Eraserhead? You look like someone stepped on your tail. Is there something wrong with the training? Shota didn't even look over at her when he replied, No, that's not it. Well, do tell. You know, you were prepared for 20 students but there are only 18 here? Yes, she nodded. Well, one of them is no longer in the hero course, expelled due to behavior, Shota said. But the other, Izuku Midoriya, he was supposed to be here, but he never showed up. Oh, do you know why? No, I sent another teacher to his address to see what was the situation, and yesterday he told me that Midoriya hadn't been seen by his mother for a few days already. A few days? Was he reported missing? At this, Shota glared and gave off a heavy aura, making Ragdoll take a step back. No, he wasn't. Along with not being seen for a few days, I found out his mother was neglecting him. As um as such, she never made a report. When Ragdoll heard how Shota described Midoriya's mother, her usual wide eyes narrowed. What what happens now for you and the lost kitten? She said with a serious voice. At the change in Ragdoll's demeanor and tone is when Shota looked at the hero. The change was a reminder um, that bright, this usual bright, cheerful group of heroes considered of powerful and skilled individuals was scary in each of their own, especially when they worked together to take down someone. Considering the kid he saw, it's considering the kid he saw with them and how they cared for students, he knew that a case of mistreatment of a child would greater gr- gran gran no, it's not gran garner garner such a reaction. He only took another moment looking at Ragdoll before responding. I'm waiting for someone. I'm waiting for some news back from the detective. I know. May I use your computer? She waved a gloved hand at him. That won't be an issue. After Hisashi reported Inko to the detective, she was arrested and questioned about Izuku. The detective started the search right away, and not at all hiding his anger and the fact that the boy had been missing for so long without anyone knowing. After his interrogation with Inko, the other officers in the office steered clear of the detective. One of them, one of the things that they were doing was looking at the security footage. They managed to find some shown shown him entering a store. Takashi Taka no, it's not Takahashi. What in the world? Who who's meowing? I just heard a cat. Sorry. Um, Taka Ta. It's 'cause I know it. I said it earlier. Tatsukachuchi, the detective, the, had been quick in getting the manager of the store to hand over the footage from one of almost broken camera from the corner. For a moment, the detective was worried that there was no footage, but in the end, he managed to get some. And when he reviewed it, he quickly sent it to Shota despite the fact that he needed to do paperwork before doing so. So there was Shota waiting for his email to load while Mandalay stood a few feet behind him. Having been told by Ragdoll the situation was the email loaded, he clicked it and it was labeled from the detective inside of the video and a line of text stating to him that stating stating what time Shota should go to in the video. When he brought the cursor to the designed the designated timestamp, he pressed play. On the screen showed interior of the interior of the convenience store. A second later, Shota saw his student enter. The image of his student made him grit his teeth because there he was, the kid he affectionately called Problem Child, all alone when he shouldn't have been. He watched as the boy made his way towards the medicine aisle. Shota thought of the injuries that weren't fully healed. The kid the kid's bruised ribs, a minor burn, bruising around his eye, a cut on his lip. He should have been at home. Should have been home resting. He was standing all alone in the store. Shota hated how the teen's head hung low and he didn't move at all. Both both he and Mandalay held their breaths when they saw someone walk up to him. They had dark hair and what looked like scars. Shota didn't recognize them. Mandalay let out a soft "what" when the person practically shoved things from the shelf into their pockets, then texted someone. Shota saw how his student didn't move even with the close proximity of the stranger. Did he know them? Um, The Then Shota felt himself stop breathing when he saw a familiar purple warp gate appear, only a few feet away from his student. The stranger grabbed his student by the hand and pulled him into the warp gate. Shota found it odd how gentle the man seemed to be at the fact that Midoriya was not even reacting. Then he was gone. Shota didn't say anything when he paused the video and let his face fall into his hands. Magne was asking questions, but he couldn't bring himself to answer them. The purple warp gate only meant one thing: the League of Villains. The League of Villains took Midoriya. The warp gate, concent- concentrary of Kirigiri, and Shota knew that Shigaraki was most likely one of the others on the other side of the warp gate. But who else? Who was the man that he saw in the store? Who else was waiting on the other side of that warp gate? Why did they take Midoriya? With these questions the questions went over his head, along with the questions about how easy Midoriya went into the warp gate. The student didn't pull a fight, even show showed even show any signs that they were aware what was happening. How the man with the scars grabbed his student by his hand gently and carefully and was not carefully, and was careful when they pulled Midoriya towards the warp gate. Just questions and questions were all Shota had, and there was no one who could answer them. Alright, that is all for now. Um, I might not do another one until tomorrow, so I hope y'all are okay with that. Cause I don't think I have enough time for another one right now. Let me see how short this one is. Honestly, I might get this one out. So I hope you enjoyed this chapter. Um, please, if you have any recommendations of fics that you think I would like to podfic, or fics that you would like to hear me podfic, I can always ask the original author and to see if they will let me podfic it. Now, I really hope y'all enjoyed, and I have to go and finish my popcorn real quick before I jump into the next chapter. I'll see y'all then.